Welcome to Cryptic Chronicles, where we venture deep into the shadows to uncover stories that chill you to the bone. Tonight, we take you into the heart of the forest, where the trees whisper secrets and the darkness hides ancient terrors. Our story begins in the remote town of Harper's Grove, North Carolina, where the peaceful solitude of the woods becomes the backdrop for a nightmarish encounter. Let's begin.
My family and I recently relocated from the bustling streets of New York to the serene, small town of Harper's Grove in North Carolina. The change was dramatic, trading skyscrapers and subways for endless forests and quaint little shops. Having lived in New York for 40 years, Harper's Grove felt like another world. Getting a job wasn't difficult. I continued in my field and secured a position as a quality inspector at a local textile factory. The only downside was the 40-minute commute, a significant change from the quick 15-minute subway ride I was used to. Spending over an hour on the road daily was not something I was thrilled about. When I discovered a shortcut through a dense forest, I was overjoyed. It reduced my travel time by 10 minutes, a significant relief. The shortcut was a narrow dirt road that cut through the heart of the woods, and it seemed like nobody else used it. I felt like I had uncovered a hidden gem thanks to satellite images on Google Maps. For the past 3 months, I had been working the morning shift from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., knowing that I would eventually switch to the evening shift from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. I wasn't looking forward to coming home so late, but I had gotten to know my evening shift colleagues well, which made the transition easier. Every day, my drive to and from work was uneventful, with the shortcut marking the midway point. It was a solitary path, with the overgrown trees and bushes creating a natural tunnel. I had never encountered another vehicle on it, making it my private escape route from the daily grind. The first day of my new evening shift arrived, and rain had been falling on and off all day. Exhausted from my disrupted sleep schedule, I stopped by the gas station, filled up the tank, and grabbed an energy drink. I braced myself for the shift ahead. Work went by smoothly. The factory was quieter during the evening, and we played some music, making the atmosphere relaxed and enjoyable. By the time we wrapped up and handed over to the night shift, it was close to 11 p.m. I headed home, relishing the empty roads. The drive felt almost dreamlike, and before I knew it, I was at the turnoff for the shortcut. This was the first time I was taking it at night. The narrow dirt road looked different under the cover of darkness. The overhanging branches cast eerie shadows, and the silence was unsettling. A shiver ran down my spine as I drove deeper into the forest. The headlights barely penetrated the thick foliage, and the path seemed narrower than usual. I felt an inexplicable sense of unease. How long had I been on this road? It usually took just a few minutes, but it felt like an eternity. I glanced at the clock, 11:18 p.m. That couldn't be right. I slowed down as I entered a large clearing I had never seen before. Had I taken a wrong turn? My thoughts were interrupted by a faint sound. Crying. It sounded like a baby crying. I froze, rolling down the window slightly to listen. There it was again, louder this time. My heart raced as I tried to make sense of it. How could there be a baby out here? I grabbed my flashlight, shining it towards the source of the sound. Nothing. I turned off the flashlight, trying to listen intently. Suddenly, there was a loud thud, followed by more crying. Panicked, I put the truck into drive and sped down the path. I didn't want to stick around to find out what was making that noise. A few minutes later, the gas light on the dashboard caught my eye. Impossible. I had just filled up. The gauge showed empty. How? I continued driving, desperate to reach the end of the path. The engine sputtered and died, and I rolled to a stop in another clearing. The smell of gasoline was strong. Was there a leak? Panic set in as I reached for my cell phone. No signal. I tried calling my wife, but the call wouldn't go through. Then I heard it again, the crying. This time, it was accompanied by a rustling sound. I shone my flashlight in the direction of the noise, and saw a massive, hulking figure just beyond the tree line. The creature was unlike anything I had ever seen. It stood on all fours, its eyes glowing red in the darkness. It let out a chilling cry that turned into a deep, guttural roar. I reached for the handgun under my seat, trying not to take my eyes off the beast. It disappeared into the trees, and I knew I had to move fast. I disabled the dome light, opened the door, and quickly slammed it shut, hoping to draw the creature's attention away from me. It worked. The beast crashed into the driver's side door, its face pressing against the window. I fired a shot, and it let out a deafening shriek. Now was my chance. I bolted out the passenger door and ran down the path. The path seemed endless, and I was losing hope when I finally saw the paved road ahead. The creature was still behind me, its roars growing louder. I turned off the flashlight and ran as fast as I could. Just as I reached the road, the beast pounced. I fired my remaining bullets, hitting it several times. It shrieked and retreated into the woods. I stumbled onto the road, relieved to see a car approaching. The driver, my neighbor Max, pulled over. "What the hell happened to you?" he asked. I told him I needed a ride home, glancing back at the dark path. No sign of the creature. Max drove me home, and I thanked him profusely. As I entered the house, I expected to find my wife waiting for me. Instead, I found a note on the pillow.
"Ethan, got worried when you didn't come home. Tried your phone, but it wouldn't ring. Went to check the shortcut."
I panicked, grabbed my flashlight and handgun again, and dashed back outside. I needed to find her before that creature did. The thought of her alone in those woods, facing that monster, drove me forward despite my exhaustion and fear. I sprinted back down the road, hoping I wasn't too late.